Okay, this is Aaron with Exalted Lamb 1 again, and here's my video finally. It's taken quite a while to put this together, last few days, and a lot of prayer, a lot of thinking. I put a lot of thought in this kind of stuff, and I put a lot of thought on how I want to put it together and the message I want to say. And then new stuff comes, new stuff as I do some research, and the Lord brings more stuff to me. I want to first thank Jesus, my friend, my master, my Lord. He is so awesome. Without any of his, saving grace and his just awesomeness, I wouldn't be here today. So I just want to thank him and our Father in heaven, and I'm so thankful to him to send me a message like this. Right, what you see right in front of you right here is a message he sent me, and I'm going to talk about it in just one second. But I want to say ahead of time that my daughter is watching, and she really wanted to watch me do this video, and so I'm happy to have her watch. But she has a little bit of a cold and a funky sore throat, and a cough. So anyway, you might hear a cough in the background. She's going to try to mute it, but she really wanted to watch Daddy do this. Um, so when this came, the miracle that this was for me was this came basically the second day that I think it was like 9/12, something like that. Olivia was hitting Hawaii, something like that. I think it was one of those 2 days. But Olivia was hitting Hawaii basically, or they were having some, uh, you know, basically some things from the rain and that kind of stuff from Olivia hitting Hawaii, the Hurricane Olivia, and I didn't notice what this was. I just saw it was a barrel, and then days later, in fact, when this came in, one of the guys that's normally the senior guy's assistant manager guy, he was on vacation, and then he came back the next week, and then here it was, and then another guy I work with, in fact, I did a video, short little video. It's kind of choppy for some reason on my phone. I don't know why, and I put it on one of my last videos, and so you may have seen it. But he's standing by this, this barrel, and he's saying, he's verifying this came in. This was written on it. In fact, he doesn't even know still today what this is all about. I'm gonna have to tell him after this happens, or whatever. I told him I would tell him at some point, but I don't want to freak him out. There's a number of reasons why I haven't shared certain things with certain people, because they can't handle it, or the Lord hasn't been tell me to do that yet, that kind of stuff. So, but he said, hey, this came in just like this. In fact, there were two barrels that came in, and one sold immediately that same week, probably the second day or something like that. And then this one was sitting there for a while, and then a few more days and stuff. And so here we are, it's sitting there just like this. And then the guy who was on vacation, he walks by and he goes, "Oh, that's an olive barrel." And the other guy was like, I don't want to use their names. The other guy was like, "Oh, I thought it was a rain barrel." He goes, "No, it's an olive barrel." And he turns it around and he shows where it's food grade. It shows it's food grade, and it's from Greece, and it was used to transport olives. And then I didn't see the number at the time. He turned it where I couldn't see this number yet, but I saw that side, and I go, "Oh, that's weird," because I was thinking to myself. I didn't say it out loud. I was thinking, "Oh, I was really following these hurricanes, and Olivia means of the olive tree," and I thought that's really weird to have an olive barrel of the olive tree. That's kind of strange. And then I end up going around one side of it and this side, and I saw this number, and I'm like, and you could knock me over with a feather. I was so shocked. I was absolutely so shocked, because at that time, that day, that evening, I was going to be doing a video about 923, about some different things, and I was asking the Lord, reveal to me more details about this day. If it's a day, if it's something else. I mean, I think it's a day. I feel like He's been showing me lately that it's a day, but I know it's also a concept. It's a concept of going from 9 to 3, the bottom of the pyramid to the top of the pyramid, like I've shared before in my other videos. So I was just blown away, and then I was like, "What does this mean?" And so fast forward to real recently, when 9/23, September 23rd, nothing happened, right, or 24th, and then I was really praying and asking the Lord for answers, and then He said that is the day and time of this. That's the first minute. You could even say in a sense, he said that's the first moment. He said basically that's the first moment of that day, and I'm like, wow. So you could look at it. He just said moment. He didn't. You could look at it as 12:01 seconds, or you can look at it as first minute. I guess I don't know because there's no colon there or whatever. And that's what I got a kind of impression. It's the first moment of that day, and that's what's important. And I'm going, well, it already passed. And he's like, no, there's another date. And I'm like, what? And then I was thinking right away about the Julian calendar. You put that in my mind. And so and I've heard of the Julian calendar, but I didn't know much details about it. I heard a little bit, and I was really on another calendar that had to do with the sun, moon, and stars and things, which I think is the most accurate. But the thing with that is that God has been giving signs with the blood moons, with the Revelation 12 sign, for example, and with the the Great American Eclipse that coincided with Israel and things, on specific holy days or feast days, especially all the blood moons. They were on Passover and Sukkot, the tetrad blood moons. And I showed an octad in one of my videos. This last one was an octad, which was 8 different signs on either holy days or feast days. And there were 6 blood moons, two sets of full moons, blood moons, and 1 set of partial blood moons. So there are 6 total blood moons in 2 years, 2014, 2015. And then between those were lunar eclipses that were on holy days or feast days. So there was 8. It was an octad. Anyway, what he's been showing me is that even though the Hebrew calendar is wrong, and it's definitely wrong, it is so wrong, he has been communicating through that. The reason why is because he wants to make them jealous when we leave and certain other things. There's things that he's trying to communicate to Israel, to the Jews over in Israel about who the Christians are and when they leave and different things. He's trying to bring them back during the tribulation. He's going to purify them. He's going to bring them back to him. So anyway, so this was very key. So let me go to what he was showing me as I'm looking into this very quickly. I was getting the insight very quickly. So I got to this part very quickly where in September, which is kind of funny, it's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. This happened in September of 1752. It was ordained, or it was made to be by one of the popes. I can't remember his name. I could have had the slide here. Whatever you call it. It was decreed by a pope that it would change from the Julian calendar to the the Gregorian calendar. So right here you see we have went from the 2nd on a Wednesday in September to the 14th. Just skip 12 days. Boom. And they had they said their reasons were to make it actually accurate with the solar time and everything and all that kind of stuff, and the lunar time and all that, whatever it was. So I don't buy it. I mean, in fact, I've done a little bit more research and found that one of the biggest problems was that it would not, these anniversary days of certain things, like what they're into. They're into the solstices and the equinoxes, and that's part of their worship, including the Catholic Church and everything, as we've talked about. So they weren't hitting on those days because they would kind of rotate and stuff too much. And they also, I know the enemy wanted to hide the day, so this was altered. So it's altered at that point by 12 days. So at that point, I think it was in the 1500s, late 1500s is when that decree came down. But then the United States first adopted it on this day, the 2nd, and then they went to the 14th, just jumped 12 days. So the calendar is different. The Julian calendar is different. It's very similar to the Gregorian, but it's off by 12 days. Well, as I did a little bit more studying, I'm like, okay, well, what is it now? Is it the same 12 days? Because I've heard some people say it was 13 days. Some people say 11, whatever. So I was able to find some really details. And I got to this very quickly, and the Lord showed me that this is very important. Okay, so you have the Julian year, which is 365.25 days, which, it counts for a leap year. Every 4 years, you have an extra day. So that 0.25 adds up. So as a lot of you know, that 0.25 adds up on the 4th year, then you have an extra day. So we would have a leap day on February 29th would be the leap day. And so anyway, that's the Julian year. But the Gregorian is similar, but it's a little bit less. It's 365.2425. Okay, right here. 2425. Okay, so that's less than the Julian, just slightly. Okay, so as you look over here, so we have the Julian is behind, Gregorian is ahead. But guess what? Because this is more, a little bit more, it starts to catch up just slightly. And then, so this is how we do this. So this is 2018, September 2018. Then that was the year it changed. So we minus that and we get 266 years of what? Of 365.25 minus 365.2425, which is the Gregorian from the Julian. We get 0.0075. That's how much of a day we have. That's different. Because again, the Julian year is gaining on it because it's more. Okay, it's more. So it's going to gain on it. So how much is it going to gain? Well, 266 years times 0.0075 is, look, 2 days, basically. 2 days. So Julian calendar is behind exactly now 10 days. Well, I don't know about exactly, but it's close enough. And so some people might say, oh, no, it's really 13. No, it's really 11. Well, the stuff I found pretty much proves that it is 10 days. And, you know, you don't have to believe it. You don't have to take it all. That's the evidence I've shown, and I'll show evidence to support this. And that, guess what? 10/3 on the Gregorian is 9/23 on the Julian calendar. It is. And it's shown in iPad Goat several times. I will show you. And, you know, there's some other stuff as well. So let me get to that. Okay, and I want to mention here too that even to this day, the Julian calendar is used, so it's a valid calendar. It's not like something was used in antiquity or something, and so it's not being followed, so it's not valid. No, the Eastern Orthodox Church uses it. The Oriental Orthodox Church, the usage by the Berbers. The Julian calendar is still used by the Berbers of the Maghreb in the form of the Berber calendar. Okay, so these are valid. These are still used by different cultures across the world, even still. So it's a valid calendar, okay? And it's a hidden calendar in a way. I mean, it was something we used when we were 13 colonies in America. And so that, I think that means something. It's substantial. Okay, so I'm going to first go to some things in iPad Goat, and we're going to talk about some different things and why, for example, we're at the very end of the time frame here. So as J.K. Bugout and Julian T., for example, I use their names a lot because they've given me some big-time foundation. And I kind of single out J.K. a little bit more, J.K. Bugout, because he's the one that really substantiated the timeline of iPad Goat. iPad Goat is a timeline, and I will set that out even more for you. Now, if you're not familiar with what iPad Goat is, I will have a link in the description box. If you've seen this video for the first time or whatever, don't know what it is, I'll have a link in the description box. It's a 7-minute and 27-second movie that was produced in 2012, and it took 6 years to make. The director said he had a dream. I don't know if I buy that. He is in the Illuminati, or he had a demon basically take him over and give him all this information, and work in the artist that did this, because this whole movie is so intricate. It's just incredibly intricate. And for those of you who do not know that or believe that, or you've looked at it and gone, it's just a stupid cartoon or something, you are so wrong. You couldn't be more wrong. I've shown how super intricate this thing is, and if anybody really with some kind of understanding at all, spiritual understanding or any just basic understanding, and some, some intuition, some knowledge, some, just general horse sense. I don't know what else to say. You can see this is evil from start to finish. You can see that this is intricate. You can see the detail. You can see the overlapping, symbolisms in this. And if you understand this at all from people who have kind of started to dissect it effectively, you'll see that this is something much bigger than is realized. And this is far deeper than I can even go to. But I'm not interested in, deciphering every single thing or interpreting every single imagery, every single symbol. All I'm interested in, and I was from the get-go, was I want to find out, when is 9/11 number 2 going to happen. This is all about the second 9/11. Okay, and this, they're showing a timeline about the second 9/11. Now, I'm thankful because you know what? There's a lot of trial and error from Julian, from J.K. Bugout, and other people, I'm sure, and people, subscribers of theirs, things like that, to give some understanding, more understanding. A lot of trial and error over the last couple years, I think it's been something like that. I mean, I've been looking at it for over a year, and getting their understanding, and some of the subscribers have really thrown into this, and now my subscribers have been thrown into this and more understanding, so we can get to the end of what this is. And I want to show you that there is an end. There's an end of the road to this, and why this is all, everything is coming to a head. Why there's several pieces of evidence on the light side of the coin and on the dark side of the coin. When I say light side of the coin, I mean what God is doing in His evidences, His signs, and the sun, moon, and stars, and all that. And I could get into more of that, and I may, but He has me on this particular road I'm on. And so I know a lot more that I'm sharing, a lot more, okay? But I'm not going to get into all that. It's just too much for most people. It gets bogged down. I have hundreds of hours. I guarantee I have hundreds of hours of stuff on so many subjects that, you know, it could be so many rabbit trails to all this information. In fact, I'm going to go on a little bit of a rabbit trail here, just because I want to show you some really important stuff. But you know, there's just so much to this. It's so intricate, so detailed. So I'm going to go to the video, and it starts right in here. And so I'm going to show you a few places where there's a timeline. There's several timelines, and how we are at the end. This month we're in, which is the Chinese lunar calendar. It's the 8th month of the Chinese lunar calendar, is the last month. Okay, and for a number of reasons. So let me go there. Okay, now I want to start at this point right now. So, as I've said before, I'm not getting into a ton of this right now, but as I said before, there's a lot of information on my last few videos about that. I got into a lot about iPad Goat, a certain amount. There's a lot of things I just don't have time to cover. But behind this girl, her name is Lily, by the way, that's what they call her. Behind her are 12 figures, and that is the 12 months of 2017. Then she represents 2018, okay? And she starts 2018 off by dropping the apple, okay? And that was something that's done in Times Square, still done every year. The ball drops. They call it a ball now, but it was an apple. In the 80s, it was an apple, as in, you know, the Big Apple, New York, right? So she drops the apple. That begins the year as she's dropping the apple. You're going to see this. And then it's going to roll. It's going to roll, and it's going to roll. I'm going to show you one spot. There's going to be a spot that looks like a moon shape, a full moon. It's going to roll 7 times. We're going to see that. And so that is the timeline here. This is she represents the new year of 2018. She's going to drop the apple. That represents the apple dropping in New York. That used to drop, which is the ball, basically ball dropping. And then it's going to roll. Now we're going to watch this here. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, as I said 7, that spot was right over this 7. Okay, so this is important. So now I'm going to let it get to this spot here. Okay, now it rests on the C, which makes it an 8. So if you look at it right side up, it's LC for lunar calendar, because it was based on the Chinese lunar calendar. But as it was rolling, you saw this spot, which looks like a moon, because we're talking about lunar months here. And then as it was rolling right here over the 7, it hit the 7th lunar month. Again, that's lunar calendar is showing. Okay, now if you look at it upside down from the viewpoint of Obama, his foot's right here. He's looking at it from this on this side, and he's looking that way. Then you look, it's a 7. And how do we know it's a 7? Well, we have this mark right here, and then there's a texture. It goes like that mark, and then it goes like that. And you can see how the mark covers up the top. So that's a 7. Okay, and then this C shape, which is for calendar, connects to the apple, and that makes 8. So it's, remember, rolled. So that showed you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's the 7th month. That confirms that's the 7th lunar calendar month. And then this is the C and the apple make the 8. See this? 8. Okay, that's the 8th month. And then all this stuff happens. Then this thing splits. So I'm going to show right now. Okay, then this grows together. Now I'm going to pause it here. So I believe in here is some more dates. So we had, and I shared this before, this is also 8. So you could look at this where it's growing together and the shadow as 8. Or the 2 halves of the apple as 8. And then we have another date in here. So there was 2 seeds, and then there's 1 over here. So that was 8/21. 8/21, 1959 is when Hawaii became a state. Okay, 59 years ago. Okay, which is kind of crazy. 1959 and 59 years ago. There's something in that. Actually, the 59 is basically 14, and you have 14 and 14. They're into 7s, they're into 8s, the Illuminati. They're all about these different, it's a religion, it's all about numerology and hidden statements and meanings and symbols and all this kind of stuff. It's really crazy. So in here is, I believe, another message, okay, of the date. So I think right now, and I'm going to confirm it by a couple other things, but I think it's 8. Then we have a 2, okay, and then we have this, when these are growing together, this side and this side, we have 3, 8, 2, 3. So that is very possible. It's 8, 2, 3. Okay, now maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not, but I'm going to show you some other things that coordinate that. Okay, but that's what I want to show you right now. Now we're going to go to the next little timeline in here, and I'm going to show you this. Okay, here's Obama. Okay, go back a little bit. Okay, now he's looking at the apple. Okay, and we're going to make it slow. Now I'm making this really slow, okay? So what you want to watch for is you're going to see this snow right over here. It's going to accumulate. Now, just so you know, this was found by J.K. Bugout. Okay, I got to give him complete props on this because it was just ingenious what he found. Maybe it was a subscriber of his, I don't know, but I remember him saying this a couple times. But he didn't share what's after this, which I found. So, but I want you to see, it's going to, this snow is going to gather, and then it's going to slam into the 8th window. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you have 6, 7, 8. Okay, it's going to slam into the 8th window. So I'm going to have this really slow so you can watch it. Watch this like a storm, like a storm. This is like a storm. Gather and then slam into the window. Watch. It's a gathering right there on the right. Boom, there it is. Right there. Watch it one more time. Oh, not that far. Watch it again. You'll see it kind of gather and hit the window. The 8th window. Boom. There it is right there. Okay, so that is another timeline, and I'm going to show you that here in a minute, okay, what that means, what that shows, I think. Okay, so we saw the timeline of the apple and how the 8th month, there's no 9th after the apple, there's nothing else, It's just, that's it. And we're going to go to the next thing here. Okay, now, what I'm going to talk about here is, I've talked about this several places, several times, but this is basically the scene in iPad Goat of the Statue of Liberty in water. And as you see here, there's a tsunami. This is kind of representing a tsunami coming. If you kind of squint your eyes again, like I said before, this looks like HI, and this is the island of Hawaii, representing the big island probably or whatever. But the tsunami looks like it's hitting here first, and it's about to hit New York, something like that. But then I've said in my last video, my last big video, that 9, this is a 9 right here, 9, and then you have a 2, and then you have a 3, 923, okay? And I'm still sticking to that because we're on the Julian calendar, but I've got some other things to show you. Also remember this, okay? We have this over here, this kind of little, we have the Statue of Liberty with this little island here. We have this lump here, and we have this up here. Okay, and I'm going to show you some things from each of these. But then I'm going to think about that. Remember this later, kind of how this looks. There's 3 different masses here, okay? So let me get into this. Okay, so I'm going to show you a few things that are here. Okay, now, first of all is the 9. And I'm not going to draw it because I don't want to cover it up. But hopefully you can see my little thing here. So there's a 9 right here. There's a 9. See that 9? It's a 9. It's backwards, okay, but it's a 9. Okay, there's also the 2. So we're going to go over this again. It's 9. There's a 2 right here. 2. It's kind of sideways and a little distorted there, but it's a 2. And then there's a 3 right here. 3. It's a 3. Okay, it's a 3. And then over here we have 9 as well. We have 9. Okay, this is a 9 right here. We have 2. It's a little bit better form 2, but the bottom goes down a little bit. So there's a 2, and there's a 3. Okay, so these, as far as I'm concerned, these two confirm each other. You got a 923 and a 923. I mean, that's pretty crazy. They're very similar in the way they're put together. This is meant to be found for people who really look. And this, a lot of this stuff is super hidden and super not obvious. So it's really crazy. Then let me show you another thing that I found. Okay, actually, I take that back. On this one of my subscribers found this, and I cannot remember who she was. She's in my comments on my last video, so I apologize. I should have had your name together, but you're one of my subscribers, and she said that this looks like a 10-3. So right here, there's a 1 right here, and maybe it's somewhat upside down, but anyway, it's just basically a 1. And you got to keep something in mind. Not everything's exactly flat, or you got to, because they want multiple things in the same image. They can't be exact. Like, that's hardly a 3, but it's a 3, That's hardly a 9, but it's a 9. You got to kind of think a little bit differently. It's got to kind of resemble it. It's just the way they hide stuff. They're able to hide stuff. Also, how they're able to have several different symbols on top of each other and that kind of stuff. So, this is a 1. This is a 0. This is a 1. Again, this is backwards. So, it should be 1, 0, but it's 0, 1. So, 0, 1, but that's 1, 0. I mean, you could, but why would you put 0-1 if it's, January? That makes no sense. So it's October, it's 1-0. And then we have a 3, so 1-0-3. Okay. Now, you may think that's far-fetched, okay, whatever. But I see it there, and she saw it, and then I was like, wow, that's there. And I'm going to confirm it even more for you, okay? So it's not just, I'm going to show you the next level of it, okay? So we have here, also we have, on both of these, we not only have that, I don't see the 1-0 over here, okay, so that's not on here, but what we have on both, we have something, another date. We have 7/23, okay, on both. So see this perfect 7 right here? There's a perfect 7. And then, of course, we have our 2, and then we have our 3. Now, you can use the same stuff here to some degree, but there's a perfect backwards 7, there's a 2, and there's a 3. And then I'll have over here, there's the backwards 9 makes a backwards 7. There's a 7, and then we have 2, and then we have 3. So there's a 7, 2, 3 on both. I mean, you could basically say there is. Okay, it's what you can see that, and you got to. Sometimes what I try to do is corroborate some evidence with other evidence, and because if you go, hey, I see a butterfly, when someone will say, oh, I see a mouse, okay. You got to see other kinds of butterflies in the same scene or other scenes that coordinate, you got to use, I like to use corroborating evidence, not just say, hi, I see something, and the other people say, I don't see that, so you got to use other stuff. So let me go to this other stuff that corroborates this evidence. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to show you in that one lump, which is right here, just above that, because this is sideways. I made this sideways to show you. is, again, this is the clock hand, which looks like a 9, but it's a clock hand pointing to the 9. Because on a clock face, the 9's over here, right here. So it's going to go a little bit past 9. So not only is this 9:23 and 7:23 and something else and 10:03 and something else, I'll get into that. It's also just after 9 o'clock. And this is based on Hawaii. Like I showed in my last video, this is also an explosion coming off the island of Hawaii. And you have to look at my last video to see that. Because I'm not going to get into every little thing because it would take me 3 hours or 4 hours to do everything. Okay, so this represents an explosion in the transition from this scene to another scene, or that other scene to this scene, an explosion off Hawaii, which is Kilauea, and it shows this date and time. Okay, now I'm going to show you something else. Okay, now look over here. See, these always look like bunny ears to me. Some people, one lady said this looks like a skull. I mean, I got it kind of cut off here so you can't really see it, but this looks like a bunny face, and I still got it cut off so you can't really see it, but there's the 2 ears and stuff. But look, this is another confirmation of a couple things. Now let me show you it first here. So first off, we have this. This is a J. See, this is a J. Okay, can you see that? And then right here we have a 3. See that 3 right there? It's very faint, but it's a 3. So we have J3. Okay, also, we could also have a Yud. That's a Yud. See that? It looks kind of like a J, sideways, kind of sideways or whatever. Now look at that. Look at this Yud right here in the Hebrew alphabet. And look at that. That looks like a Yud or a J. But guess what? Yud and J are both 10. J is the 10th letter of the alphabet. And Yud in the Hebrew alphabet is 10 also. It equals 10. It's the same thing. It's crazy. So whether you have Hebrew, which I think this is an introduction of a Yud, because a J does a little bit more of a thing up here, but it could still be a J. I mean, again, you can't. These things don't have to be exact. They're designed that way because if they were exact, you could see everything, and then that would miss the whole point. They would never do it. They would never do it. They want to make it so hidden that you can't find it, or very difficult to find it. And this has taken years to get to this point, and I'm standing on the shoulders of other people who could see, and then I could see a little bit farther because I'm continuing what they're doing. Hopefully, I can. So we have 10. You have 3. Again, that confirms the other one. The other one, remember? 10, 3. We got another 10, 3 going on here. Okay, that's pretty clear to me. That's not it. We got more. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, so what was I going to show here? Oh, they're right. What was I going to show here now? Oh, here. I was going to turn this upside down. That's why. Okay, so when I turn this rabbit, I call it a rabbit with ears, upside down, see that? Look at this. We've got 9. See that? 9. Because that hole, that circle there, is the inside of the, the hole in the 9, the top. It's kind of a funky 9, but it's a 9. And then look at this. We got a 2. The J now becomes a funky 2. It's got this big, it doesn't hook down, but it's got a 2. And then there's the bottom of the 2. It's a 2. And look, we got the 3 again. So we got 9, 23. 9, 23. It's there. And if you really can't see it very well or don't think so, okay, whatever. But it's there. And these things are all there. They're hidden. They're super subtle. This is upside down and backwards. So that's what the enemy does. He does things upside down and backwards. That's actually in the Bible. So here we are to the ultimate grid that I made. And this is the ultimate understanding I've been given here in this last few days. This is pay dirt right here. Okay, you look on the left side, it's the Gregorian calendar day, which is coming up. Okay, October 3rd, then October 2nd, and then October 3rd. Well, what are these? Look in the middle. We have the same time. So just imagine the same exact time. If you were to look at the Earth and an event happened on the Earth, and it was the exact same time, but then it was different time zones around the Earth. So they have a plan for 2 different events to happen at the same exact time, but they're different time zones. So this is help you. If you want to take a screenshot of this, help you understand. Same time, different time zones right here, and we go down. This is a line of the same time, different time zones. So we got Jerusalem, for example, at this exact time that I'm picking, which is in iPad Goat. It doesn't show Jerusalem that I know of, or Israel time, but I'm using this example because we have 3 dates here that are crazy. So Jerusalem is 10 a.m. Israel Standard Time. And then at the same exact time, but a different time zone, is Hawaii, 9 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. And then we have at the same exact time, New York, 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So what does that equate to? Jerusalem, that same time, is on October 3rd, but in Hebrew, on the Hebrew calendar, this exact same time. All these are on the exact same moment. 7:23 on this Hebrew calendar. It's 7:23, and it just so happens to be on Hawaii's hitting this at the same exact time. 8:23 that day. The same moment, the same day, but they're different days on the Chinese lunar calendar here, for example. So we have 7:23 in the Hebrew calendar. We have 8:23 on that same moment on the Chinese lunar calendar. And then at the same exact moment, we have 9:23 on the Julian calendar. This is my evidence, my big evidence. There's more, but this is huge. So they are so into 23s, it's ridiculous. If you know the Illuminati at all, if you know any of this stuff at all, if you looked at any of this stuff, they are so into 23s, it's insane. And I'll tell you a couple reasons why. First of all, when you divide 2 into 3, or sorry, 2 by 3, you get 0.666. 0.666. Okay? Or 2/3. 2/3 of something is 0.666. You know that they're into 666, right? Okay, second, this is even bigger than that, I think. Well, the reason why, no, it's not bigger. Let me just show you why this is important. So not only is 2 divided by 3, 666, and why it's big is because when you have 23, 23, and 23, they are 3 sets of 23 chromosomes. Okay, if you know biology at all, you know that the mother, when a baby happens, a mother gives her 23 chromosomes to the baby, and then the other 23 chromosomes going to the baby comes from the father. Okay, and that is how a baby is formed for these chromosomes. And it's 2 strands of DNA. Okay, the double helix. Now, what I've learned, and one of the many things I've learned, there's a lot of things in this particular thing I've learned, is that the Antichrist and the beast system will add another strand of DNA to our existing DNA. Now, I'm not talking about me. I'm going to be out of here. I'm going to heaven with my family and many other people, and I'm hoping you will come too. I'm hoping you will understand that Jesus loves you. He does not want you to be here and get a 3rd strand of DNA. And at that point, when you receive the mark, by the way, you'll already have this stuff in your body that you're breathing from chemtrails and all kinds of stuff. And that's just horrible stuff. I don't want to get into all that stuff. But I just want to tell you ahead of time that the stuff that you're breathing and all kinds of stuff that's going in your body that you don't even know, most people don't even know, the smart dust and things, it's going to form a 3rd strand of DNA when you get the mark. When you're forced by the one world government to get the mark with the Antichrist being the world leader, it will form a 3rd strand of DNA. It will change your whole DNA structure, and you will become something very different than you are right now. And you will not be redeemable. Okay? So, reason why these 323s on the same day, on the same time, I should say the same moment, are 3 different calendar days. It's crazy. Are you kidding me? Do you see this? Okay, the reason why 23, 23, and 23 are important to them, this is the first reason. 23 chromosomes for each of the strands of DNA that what you change, and that is the mark. That is 666. 23, 23, and 23. The second reason is this. 23, okay, is, okay, let me say it this way. Remember George Bush, after 9/11, he spoke, I think he was sitting in the Oval Office. He was sitting in the Oval Office, and he quoted Psalm 23, okay, and that was after 9/11. That was basically 9/11. And then 10 years later, Barack Obama quoted Psalm 46. And he didn't even say what psalm it was. He just said, I am God. You know, he basically said that verse, and he said it like he was God, like he was saying, and he believes he is, and he's the Antichrist. So anyway, that was Psalm 46. And then Trump, again, 9/11, Trump, in the speech he did at the memorial of 9/11 memorial at the Tower of Voices in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, he said a story about a woman whose husband was killed in the crash, so-called crash, and there was a ring that was recovered, and the date on the ring was 8/2/69. And so we have 23 plus 23 is 46. So Psalm 23 and then Psalm 46, which is another 23 chromosomes or whatever. And then we add another 23 to that and we get 69. So each president on 9/11 said, one said 23, one said 46, or one quoted 46 and one quoted 69. Okay, do you get that? And then the other significance of that is that 69 is the crossing. Okay, and I could put some stuff on here, but I'm not going to. I want to have you look into it. Okay, that's also the constellation Cancer, which represents us crossing over into heaven. Also, 69 represents the crossing of the Antichrist, or the devil, into the Antichrist, basically making him the the false Messiah and all that. Okay, that's the crossing. So at the same time, simultaneously, there's a crossing that happens. And that's what 6 and 9. If you look at a 6 and a 9 right up against each other, that's also the yin and yang symbol, which is a crossing. It's it's light and dark, and it means so much. But look into it yourself. Look at the crossing of 69. And as far as biblical, as far as real, not the New Age stuff. But the New Age stuff will give you a lot of good insights about what that means too on their side. So that's what's substantial about this. It's multiple messages. That's why I know this is probably the day. This is probably the day that they're going to do all this stuff, because, I mean, are you kidding me? It matches on the same exact moment, 7/23, 8/23, 9/23 on these different calendars. And that's also why I know that the Julian calendar is completely right. That it's 10 days off the Gregorian. This proves it. And I have some other proof as well, but I'm not going to get into everything right now. You can look into it yourself or whatever, or just look at the evidence I have and then just wait and see, because it's just a few days away. Okay? This stuff's going to happen. And I'm going to show you more evidence of this time frame and more stuff that we're almost there. So basically, when it is October 3rd, it's also October 2nd, and then it's also October 3rd in a different way. So when it's October 3rd in Jerusalem, it's going from October 2nd to October 3rd on our calendar, but for them, it stretches from 6:23 p.m. to like 24 p.m. on the next day, from October 2nd to October 3rd, because they count their day starting on sunset and their day ending on sunset. And then, so October 3rd for Hawaii, sorry, it's October 2nd for Hawaii, but then 6 hours later on the time zones, if I have that right, yeah, 6 hours later on the time zones, it is 3 a.m. in New York. So that's how kind of the same time in 2 different days. Okay, for example, so look at this. This is crazy. 7/23, 8/23, and 9/23. All these 23s on the same moment. Do you know of another time that matches that? I mean, there's nothing else. There's nothing else. So let me go to the next thing here. This is insane. Okay, so now I'm going to show you another timeline. Now, when I showed you that snow that slammed into that window, I'm going to get to that. But first thing I got to do is show you this. Okay, so this is the beginning of iPet Goat. This is the goat in iPet Goat 2. And this is a timeline as well. This is the first timeline that's shown. And it's significant, and for a number of reasons, so many reasons, it's really ridiculous. I can't even say all the reasons. There's probably a lot of things I don't even understand. But as this thing starts off, you see this thing, and that, it's holding the barbed wire. I don't even know what you call this thing. I should probably find out what it's called. But it looks like the lunar eclipse, which it represents. It does, and it actually, as the perspective changes, it goes right over this. So this is the 6th lunar month. Okay, and it's represented by a goat. And in Chinese lunar calendar, the 6th month is a goat. Okay, and then another thing too is that the next box shown, so this is representing the box, which is the 6th lunar calendar month, Chinese lunar calendar month. This is the next one right here. This is not part of this one. This is another one. And by the way, this I believe is Hawaii, and it's pointed to this, and that's the major things that happened on Hawaii that hit Hawaii were right in this month right here. Okay, and then there's another month. This one way back here. This is the 8th calendar month. The 8th lunar calendar month. Now, did you see a common thing here? We already saw that apple, and the apple made that 8th lunar calendar month. Now here it is. There's this the 6th, okay, and here's the 7th, and here's the 8th. Now, do I have more support of this? Yes, I do. Absolutely. Now, again, how do I know this is 2018? Because it's the year of the dog. Okay, it's right here, the year of the dog. Now, I forgot to show you in that video the year, the Wu year. Let me do that real quick. I'm going to come right back. So, this is live, so here we go. Okay, so I forgot to show you that these set of windows, so we saw the snow slam into the 8th window, but as you're panning out, I'm going to show you here how this top row of windows represents 2017, and this bottom row of windows represents 2018. And so this is showing you a few different ways. I'm going to show you how 2018 is it. And then the 8th lunar calendar, Chinese lunar calendar month is it. We're at the end of the road. There's no other in iPad Goat. If you think iPad Goat is showing the timeline, and I've shown you a lot of things, or Julian has, or JK or anybody else has shown you this, then you'll understand that this time is out. It's over. It's done. So then the 9/11 has to be within this last month and this last year, and this 8th lunar calendar month and this 2018 year. So let me show you the evidence of that right here. Okay, so this, if you pan all the way out, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 12 up here. This is 2017. This is 2018. Okay, so 12 months of 2018, 12 months of 2017. And then right here, JK found this as well. Right here in the snow is written Wu, W-U, for the Wushu year of 2018. That is Chinese. It's the Wushu year of the dog is what it means. So Wu, W, U. It's in this, nuclear winter or whatever the snow is, this ash or whatever it is. Okay, it looks like snow, but it's Wu. That's the Wu year, and it's right at this bottom. So we had 2017, which represents those figures behind Lily. Okay, that's 2017. Again, that's another confirmation. It's 2017, and it actually shows on the 8th figure in the back, it shows a lunar eclipse. I'm sorry, a solar eclipse. And that was the one that happened in August, the 8th month in 2017. And I didn't show you when I was showing it, which I should have. But anyway, so here we go. Again, I'm live here. WU is Wu year. Now let me go back to this goat so I can show you more. So again, I'm showing you 2018 is it in iPad Goat, and then the 8th lunar calendar month is it. No, that's the end of the road. Okay. And I'm going to show you other things that show you that we're at the end of the road here. So here we go. Okay, so let me add more information to this. Okay, so again, we're in the Wushu year because here's a dog, and that's the Chinese, symbol for the 2018 is a dog. I don't have it pulled up, but you can look it up. The year of the dog is 2018, and it goes every so many years is the year of the dog. So 2018 is the year of the dog, okay? And then this is the month of the goat. So in the year of the dog, month of the goat, another thing too is, which is covered up right here, but there's a barcode on his head, and it says 666. So 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 18. We're in 2018. So there's several confirmations that we're in this year. Another confirmation is this. Not this, right here. So this is crazy. The dog is saying woof, okay? Well, this is code, okay? Reason why is because there you got a W and you got 2 O's, and then the F is bigger than the rest of it, and so it kind of stuck out a little bit. And so this is actually saying woo. Remember I showed you the woo in the snow? Well, this is another way of saying woo, maybe in English or something. You can say, oh, woo, oh, woo, and then the F is separated because it's a capital again, and that's F. So Wu would be the year of the dog, 2018, and the F right here is the 6th letter of the alphabet, which is the 6th month, which is the month that this cube or this box is, which is the month of the goat. So again, we have multiple confirmations that this scene is about 2018, and this is the month of the goat, this cube here, okay? This cube right here is right here. This cube right here is the 6th month of the goat, and this is the 7th. This is the 8th right here. And then there's nothing else. Nothing right here. Nothing. Okay, and this starts it off. And this shows it overlapping this, and then your perspective changes, and then it shows you the full cube. Okay, and we've got several indications that this is the year of 2018, and we're in the month of the 6th lunar calendar month, and this is the 7th, this is the 8th. Okay, let me go on. A little tidbit I want to show in here right now. Oh, there's the 666 right there, so that's showing 18. Okay, when these spirals happen, if you watch my other videos in his eyes, the spirals represent the hurricanes. Okay, that's again more stuff that just confirms this is real. Okay, you got the hurricanes, and then the head spins, and when his head spins, there's three versions of him spinning. So there was three hurricanes that hit Hawaii. Okay, by the way, in his eye, guess what I found in his eye? He is looking at the same scene that the old woman looks at when she's looking out bars. She's looking at New York. That New York scene I showed you with those three, with the New York Statue of Liberty, and then those three other, or the two other island things with the rabbit and everything. That's in his eye. It's right here, it's right here, it's right there. It's kind of distorted a little bit. You can look at it yourself if you want, but it's right here. He sees the same thing. So while he's spinning, while the hurricane, while he's over here, he's watching destruction happen in New York. And what I think is going on here is this is his head is the spiral representing Hawaii. Three of his heads are spiraling. They're spiraling over that little M, which looks like a Hawaiian island, and I've shared this in my other videos. And then he's watching a spiral go over the head of the Statue of Liberty, which is in the movie as well. And that is the time when destruction happens, and when I believe, possibly, I mean, I know for sure that the innocence is going to leave. The children are going to leave at that time. Before full destruction happens, there's a spiral that shows that's above the Statue of Liberty, and there's a light in it, in the center of it, and then it goes out and it closes completely. And so I believe what's going to happen, and some of this is a lot of this is my hypothesis at this point, from what I know, but I believe all the innocent ones, the little babies and the little children, are going to be taken before destruction happens, simultaneously all over the place. And I believe what's going to happen is it's going to be a massive tsunami from an eruption of Kilauea, causes a section of Hawaii, the East Rift Zone, will fall over the Helena's Slump, which is a massive drop-off on the south side of the Big Island. It's going to cause a mega tsunami, which is going to destroy Hawaii with about 1,000-foot wave, most of Hawaii. Then it's going to go across the Pacific, all directions, but it's going to go towards the west coast of the United States and hit it with about 100 to 200-foot wave and do some horrible destruction. And at the same time in New York, so this happens in Hawaii, starts at 9 p.m., which I've shown in that graph there, or that section. And then at the same time, 3 a.m. in New York, which is what he's seeing right here, there's going to be another attack of two submarines. They're going to one's going to shoot a nuclear missile into the water. It's going to cause a massive tsunami wave that's been predicted in all these movies, like Day After Tomorrow or whatever it's called, and Deep Impact, and all these different movies where a massive tsunami wave is hitting New York. That's also on the $100 bill. If you fold it a few times and you see on both sides, it shows a big wave destroying buildings and stuff. It's really crazy. So that's what's going to happen. Okay, so he sees this. This goat sees this happening. It's in his eye as he's spinning his eyes and his head, which is kind of crazy. And I just saw this recently. Okay, now, if you take this, if you turn this sideways, I found this just recently and I was pretty blown away. So this is a timeline. Like I said, this is a timeline. There's another timeline here in these sections. So if you turn it sideways, you have this, again, this box, and this box, like I showed you. Okay, but look at these lines here. Separation of the boards, where the boards meet. They mean something. Look at this. So if you take from where this starts and where that ends, which is down here, actually this is down here a little bit more, but this is, and I looked at the distance between both of these and where it ends in the snow, it's halfway. Okay, that is in the Chinese lunar calendar month, the 6th lunar calendar month. Halfway is July 27th to 28th, basically. I'm giving it a 2-day thing. What is that day? That's the lunar eclipse. And like I said, that thing that's holding the barbed wire, which starts off the whole thing, the whole video here, the whole movie, is representing a lunar eclipse. And there it is. It's right in the middle of the 6th lunar calendar month, Chinese lunar calendar month. It's right in the middle, okay? Then this, I believe, is not as substantial, but is pointing to where this ends. Right here, and then this is very substantial. This is the 7th month. Now we are in the 8th lunar calendar month, And if you see here where this ends and then where this begins, if you take this, just, it's really, this line should probably go right here, right there, right there. Well, anyway, I just did it kind of quick, but this represents basically 4 sections or 4 quarters of this thing. This is at the 3/4 mark. Okay, maybe just a little bit. It's actually a little bit over the 3/4 mark. If you were to look at this, it's a little bit over. And guess what's a little bit over the 3/4 mark if you look at the whole month of the 8th lunar calendar month, the Chinese lunar calendar month? It's October 3rd. 10-3. It just so happens this hits July, the lunar eclipse, and this so happens to hit October 3rd, which I've just been talking about. 10-3. Just happens to. No big deal. This is just, this is not really here or anything. This is a timeline within a timeline within a timeline. I mean, it's crazy. Hopefully you can see this and you understand what I'm talking about, because this is real. Okay, now I showed you this. Now, if I take this, what I just showed you, this is a timeline. This is the 8th lunar calendar month right here, what I just showed you, this box right here. Now under here, this is where the snow hits the 8th window. It just so happens, again, to be the 8th window out of that bottom row of windows I showed you, right? There's the 8th lunar calendar month. That window represents the 8th lunar calendar month. Now look, this is where the snow hit it. See the snow? And then I did the same thing. I sectioned it. I started in the middle and cut it in half. And then I went from there and I cut it in half again. And then I was able to find, there's dates in here of things that happened. So here is this, again, a storm representing the snow or whatever it is getting together and slamming into the window. And so here's 9/10, which is the first day of the 8th lunar calendar Chinese month. Okay, and then right here, the next day is 9/11. Oops, well, sorry, I didn't mean to cover that up. It's 9/11, okay, right here. And this is where the white starts. So just imagine like a storm right here, or the white, something happening right here. There's nothing right here, nothing. There's nothing right there. And then there's white right here. Do you see that? And so 9/11 was when, like I showed you in my other video, 9/11 was when Olivia, which represents that olive barrel, oh my God, that I just saw, Olivia was right coming into Hawaii, was just about to touch it, or about to basically be touching it actually. And then guess what? And what was 9/12 the next day? 9/12, which shows us this big white area. Oh, that was that huge hurricane called Florence that was touching the East Coast. And then here is landfall of Florence, and you still got this big white area, 9/13. And then 9/14 as well, and then it just starts to taper off a little bit here because there's flooding, and then that, I mean, basically, look at that, that's the nice strong when it hit land, and it's kind of tapering off, but it's still raining and flooding and raining, and then up to this point, and then right about the 27th is when a lot of these different tables I was looking at, it was continually flooding, and I have a friend out there right now, and he's right in the midst of it, and I've been concerned about him. Daniel, I've been concerned about you. Hopefully you see this video and you're doing good. I've heard good things that you're doing good. So, and you keep doing reports. So hopefully you're still doing good out there. I wouldn't want to be where you're at. Daniel Cannon with Logic Before Authority. You're my brother. So, and I appreciate you, all the things you're doing. And so I'm trying to, get in this fight with you and do more. So, that's when some of the flooding started tapering off. But guess what? More stuff's coming. But then look, not too far down the road here in the same month is 10/3, which is the date I'm talking about. The date I'm talking about, where a lot of stuff's going to happen. And I believe this attack is going to happen simultaneously in Hawaii and in New York. Okay? So this is and that's the end. There's no other, it doesn't show anything else happening to any other window. And we're in 2018. This is the 2018 row of windows in the woo-shoo year that you saw in the snow. This is the last box. Okay, and that's when I say that. When I've said that to people, they're like, oh, I don't know about... You don't understand it then. It is there. I'm not saying I have full understanding. I could be wrong on several things. But for what I know right now, and I understand this pretty well, and there's been some people who've really set this up for me, like I said, J.K. Julian, a few other people that have helped on some things, and a lot of their subscribers, and now a lot of my subscribers that helped me into a lot of understanding as well. And my own understanding with what the Lord's showing me, you need to know about this day, okay? And you need to be prepared for what's coming. Okay, this is the Chinese Wu Shu, like I told you, Wu. Remember, Wu was in the snow. Okay, that's the Wu Shu year of the dog. Okay, and basically we're in the 8th lunar calendar month, which hits September. And then, so let's say I was just talking about the apple being the 23rd. Okay, possibly there's this two seeds on one side make two, and then when you add the other one, it's two and then three. But whatever. I mean, I don't know exactly how that works. That one is not as clear to me as other things. But that would be, look, that would be October 2nd. And it just so happens to be October 2nd at 9 p.m. in Hawaii. Okay, so just so you understand, this is the 8th lunar calendar month, and that syncs with the Gregorian up here, the months and the days. So you just look at that 23rd, there it is. And then if we look at the 24th, then that would be the 3rd, which is, we're talking about 10-3 as well. So it's between those 2 days, depending on where you're at. Okay, all right. Now I want to talk about the other part of the coin, the other side of the coin. At this time, remember I said we're running out on the dark side of the coin. And I'm using iPet Goat as the dark side of the coin example, but because it's a timeline. There's no other timeline that's as detailed and is as accurate that I've seen so far on the dark side. What the enemy's doing as iPet Goat. It's in a sense, even though I hate it, I so hate this movie. I can't even tell you. I mean, literally, I hate this movie. But on the other hand, there's another side to that, which is God's given us the enemy's playbook and a timeline. And I'm, in a way, also, I'm very conflicted person because on the other side, it's a benefit. So, and I get to get that benefit out to you. It's not as much of a benefit for me, really. I've been prepared for 3 years. I am ready to go. I'm all that stuff. So I'm going through all this for you, all of you, all my brothers and sisters in Christ, and anybody else that will listen and will come to the Lord Jesus at some point, whether it's now or whether after all this stuff starts happening. And I'm hoping you come now. I'm hoping you come in the first few days and you make Jesus Christ your Lord and Savior. You confess Romans 10:9 and 10. You confess in your mouth the Lord Jesus and believe in your heart God raised from the dead, and you will be saved. That's all you have to do. You say, Jesus, you are my Lord, and I believe in your heart. I believe in my heart you were raised from the dead, and that's it. And you were a new creation at that moment. And I ask you to do that now, anytime, anytime. And you know what? If when this destruction happens, you still have an opportunity to do that. And I believe some of us will still be here, and then we'll be here for a short time, and then we'll be taken away. This is too much of an opportunity for the body of Christ, or the bride of Christ, to not be here completely. To when all people's faith and everything just gets destroyed, and they're here with light. And they also have to pass on this understanding to the other Christians and other people who don't know what the heck's going on. Okay, so that doesn't make any sense. Just imagine this. God's going to take all the Christians, or a lot of people believe it's going to take all the Christians, and that's just silly to me. But they believe he's going to take all the Christians and then leave everybody to not know what the heck's going on. That makes no sense to me. And I tell you one thing, the Bible does not support that at all. And I've been studying the Bible for 27 years, and I'm telling you, there is so many scriptures that support what I'm saying. And I just can't, I may do some videos to unleash a lot of the different stuff I know. But the problem is the Lord wants me to do certain things, and other things he says no. And other things. And there's things that take time and all that. But let me get into this. So if you look at this, this is the Sukkot. This is the Feast of Tabernacles, okay? And this is the last feast of the season of the year, basically. Okay, it's the last of the fall feast. And according to my sister in Christ, and what the Lord's shown me, and another one, the video that was right after this one from Jocko with God's Roadmap to the End, which I recommend you watch both. This is the front thumbnail on this with her face. She is so awesome. She is such a sweet woman. I love her so much. She's awesome. And Jocko is so awesome. He's standing out there. He's fighting. He's putting these videos together. You got to watch both their videos on my channel because I don't put a lot of other people's stuff on some things. But if I put their video on my channel, it's because they give you valid, amazing information. And she has stuff about this menorah and how the Sukkot is the next feast to be fulfilled. And that's it. That's it. That's when we go. That's when all this stuff starts happening. So look at her video, look at Jocko's video, and how basically the Sukkot, basically you start out with the first feast right here, which Jesus fulfilled Passover, unleavened bread, and first fruits, and then Pentecost, and then you go over here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 in the middle, and then you start with this last one, and then you go in because God is the center of everything. So basically, she just explains way better than that. Okay, and I could if I want to spend way more time, but I don't have the time. And the Lord has me on this task. She's done this task, and Jocko's done this task very, very well. Watch their videos, please. I beg you. So you'll see hers, and then his will be right after. This is what hers looks like on the front. Okay. So what I want to talk to you about this is that here is the 23rd right here. Remember the Jewish, the 823? I'm sorry, the 723. The 723, because 7th month is Tishri, and the 23rd. Okay, this is the last day right here. And then it's about 10 a.m. right in here somewhere is when this is going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen in Israel, if anything, but this is about America. But it would be about 10 a.m. here. And then this day would end here. And then look at this. Israel set apart. Israel turns to God, Yahweh, in their distress. This is the 8th day of Sukkot. This is the hidden day. It's called all kinds of stuff. This is it. This is the last one of the year. And I believe this is the year. And there's so many reasons why this is the year. I can't get into all this stuff right now because I don't have the time. And my video is already way long. And it's going to be a little bit longer. So, for example, this is the year of the 70-year anniversary of Israel. Are you kidding? This is the year. There's so many things that this is the year. There's so many. I won't get into all this stuff. I mean, it's just too many things because this is not my assignment right here. There's so many rabbit trails I could take right now. Okay, this is the year, and iPad Goat shows that. This is showing that Sukkot is the next one to be fulfilled from the outside in, and there's a number of reasons. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more here. Okay, so the Feast of Tabernacles and the 8th day, the Atzerah. 2 Chronicles 7. Another time the word Atzerah is used is during the Feast of Tabernacles, when King Solomon dedicated the temple. The glory of the Lord fulfilled the Lord's house. Solomon observed the Feast of Tabernacles at the time for 7 days. On the 8th day, they held a solemn assembly, the Atzerah. 2 Chronicles 7, 8 through 9. Feast of Tabernacles always begins on the 15th day of the 7th month of God's biblical calendar, continues through the 21st day of the 7th month. 7 days, and that was the 22nd day. Okay, that means that the 8th day, the 23rd day, which is 723, or 923, or 823, is always on the 22nd day of the 7th month in the fall of the year, September or October on the Gregorian calendar. The scripture shows us God's timetable. So Solomon observed the feast at the time for 7 days, and on the 8th day they held a solemn assembly, an Atzerah. Then on the 23rd day, there you go again, 23rd day of the 7th month, he sent their people to their tents. 2 Chronicles 7, 8 through 9. The appointed times of the Lord all point to the Messiah and his coming. He fulfilled the scripture in his first coming, and yet this Atzerah also points to his second coming. Men and women must circumcise their hearts to prepare for his return. He is going to shake everything that can be shaken. We must love him with our whole hearts. Now, this is my message. If there's a message that I have, it's to show you these things, give you these details, but my main message is, listen, I'm all about the heart. I am all about the heart. The Lord has shown me how the word is pointing to the heart. And most Christians, most Americans avoid their heart. They don't live out of their heart. They live out of circumstances. They live out of life. They push their heart away, and they don't want to deal with the things of the heart. They don't want to deal with the heart issues. And so their hearts are wounded. And that's why we do things we don't want to do. That's why we have bitterness. That's why we have all these different things that keep us away from God, because our hearts have been tainted since we were children. The enemy knew this. He tainted our hearts. He affected us. He gave us some trauma. He gave us some wounds. And so then we cover those up and we try to go on as if nothing's happening, and we go on without God and try to make our own way because our hearts are wounded. And God wants to get into our hearts. He wants to live in the earthly tablets of our heart, not in stone tablets. We're not supposed to serve stone tablets of the law. We're supposed to serve God with the earthly, fleshly tables of our hearts. And that's what it's all about. And so he is going to cause many people to go through horrible things, including Christians that are not following at all. And then they'll open up their hearts to him. And when he comes into your heart, when he comes into your life and heals you and reaches out for you, that's when you know he's God. That's when you want to serve him. That's when your life changes. But the ones who don't do that, you're missing out on everything. But you'll get a chance because the world is going to be crumbling down around you. So we must, like it says here, we must love him with our whole heart. We must turn to our first love in order to be able to stand firm and overcome in the last days. Circumcision, the circumcision of your heart. God wants us to circumcise our hearts. It is our responsibility to circumcise our own hearts. So circumcise your heart and stiffen your neck no longer. For the Lord your God is the God of gods, the Lord of lords, and great, the mighty, and the awesome God who does not show partiality or take a bribe. Excuse me. And yet God is circumcising our hearts so that we may live. Unless your hearts are circumcised, basically you're cutting off the bad stuff. You're letting him work on your heart and change you. He just wants to change what the enemy tainted in your life, what he did in your family, what he did. You know how many people have heart wounds from their father? Everybody, pretty much. I had several. I don't know of anybody who doesn't have a heart wound from their father. Either they didn't have a good father, or they did stuff, or they didn't do certain things, and it wounded them, or they didn't have a father, and that's a massive wound, or their father abused them like mine did. Both of mine did. Okay? So this is very important. This is what God is after. This is not so he can be vengeful or anything. People have turned themselves away from him on their own choice. And so he's got to accept free will. But then he will, in his own power, come through and do things. And he will come through. In the Lord, he will come through in other people. And he will do what he can do. Okay, and yet God has circumcised our hearts so that we may live. Unless our hearts be circumcised and tender to him, we are not really living. God will circumcise your heart and the heart of your descendants to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, so that you may live. He is circumcising hearts by his Spirit for his glory and for his sake of his name. And another thing I want to add here, the little Jewish boys were to be circumcised on the 8th day after their birth. We know this in Genesis 17:12. And 6 months after the birth of John the Baptist, Yeshua, or Jesus, was born. The Messiah was born on the first day of the Feast of Tabernacles. That's his real birthday, by the way. And Mark Biltz does a great teaching on that. I've heard some other ones as well. And this is some stuff I grabbed from some sources. The word, you know yourself, I know who you are, S. The word became flesh and dwelt or tabernacled among us. John 1:14. Yeshua was circumcised on the 8th day after his birth. He was circumcised on the 8th day, the Atzerah, solemn assembly of the Feast of Tabernacles. It is interesting to note that both boys, Yeshua and John the Baptist, were circumcised on the solemn assembly day because of the space apart that they were. Because one was born of Mary, one was born of Elizabeth. And the distance they were born and circumcised, they were both circumcised on the same solemn day. That's amazing. And Yeshua, there's so much evidence. Yeshua, or Jesus, my master, my Lord, was circumcised on that day, and he was born on the Feast of Tabernacles. And guess what? If the head is born on the Feast of Tabernacles, the body will follow and be birthed in heaven on the Feast of Tabernacles, because the body must join with the head. Now I'm going to take a different, completely sidetrack here, but you know what? I want to show you some more evidence. Now this is something that many fish, a great YouTube channel, I love this guy, he's my brother. He's my brother like an other from another mother. Okay, he pointed this out. A CNN thing, of course, because all the fake news media like to point out all the things the enemy wants to pre-program people with and tell them about so they can get ready for the Antichrist. And one of those things is a rare two-headed copperhead discovered in Virginia. Look at this thing. This thing's real. I think it was actually genetically altered, and they planted it there, but whatever. So where this thing was, and look at the date, September 23rd. Oh, wow. And the time is even significant and all this stuff. I mean, there's so much in this stuff if you look at it. And if you watch any of his videos, he's got some mind-blowing stuff. So I'm going to take a couple things he said, but I'm going to add some other stuff. Okay, where they said they found it, and then he drew a line from there in Google Earth, drew a line to the top, exactly where Washington, D.C. is, the top of this pentagram thing. I'm going to show you what this thing is. From right there, guess what? The map length in kilometers was 33.22. And the heading in degrees was 33.22. If you understand anything about the Illuminati and the Skull and Bone Society, which are all the presidents were part of, the Skull and Bone Society and all that, they're into 322. I mean, it's like they worship this number. It's crazy. So, I mean, what are the chances that you'd have the distance in 33.22 kilometers and the heading in degrees 33.22 from where the double-headed snake is to the top of Baphomet's head, which is a pentagram basically. Well, let me show you this. This is what Washington looks like. Look at this. This is how the streets are laid out. If you don't get this, look at it. You understand an upside down star is a pentagram? And look at the outside of the star. It's not quite complete, but it's got all points, and this will be completed right here. Look, and they believe that it is an oath to complete a devilish work, and that's why they believe it's open-ended, because they're going to complete their devilish work, which is about to be completed. And why is this significant? I'm going to show you a few things. By the way, if you go to Google Earth, put in Washington, D.C., it goes right there. See that? That's it. And it's this little, statue of this guy on a horse or whatever. I don't even know what it is. I haven't had time to look at it. I was kind of curious, but I don't have time to do all these little sidetracks I could do. But it's the top of the head of Baphomet. The horned sheep god, whatever, the symbol of Satanism, which is right here. It's right in front of your face, right? Okay, so the significance of that spot right there, where that thing is right here, is that they're going to put an arch of Baal. Not going to, they just did yesterday. Today is September 27th. Yesterday was September 26th. They put an arch of Baal, which is called a arch of, what is it called? Arch of, can't remember what it's called, Victory or something like that. Arch of Triumph is also the same thing. Arch of Triomphe in Paris, France, all that stuff. It's a portal. It represents a portal to hell. Okay, basically, the Arch of Baal. If you know about Baal worship, and you can look into this a little bit, I have in the past. Baal worship is in the Bible. It's all over in the Bible, and it's basically another word for Satan, basically. And Baal, they're putting these arches in all these major cities now, and this is the next one, and this is happening in Washington, D.C., and it's on the 26th, which was yesterday. And I'm going to show you why that's super significant to what's coming in a few days. Okay, so this Arch of Baal remember, it's a portal to hell. Okay, that's what the Arch of Baal means. And it's their victory. It's a triumphal victory to the enemy because they have a portal from hell to earth. Okay, now look at this. So Trump, just happened to, one day before the arch was put on that spot in Washington, D.C., he happened to do a speech at the UN. They're into timing and all that stuff, of course. So if you don't believe this is, all orchestrated and everything, why did everybody include, look, the Independent in the UK, Fox News said it's a triumphal speech, or speaking in triumphal terms. And they all said triumphal. In fact, I actually think I cut that out, but Fox News said a triumphal speech. And then they said speaking in triumphal terms. And there's probably like 20-some news outlets which use the word triumphal. If you've ever seen this in the past, this is the talking points that are put out to the media by the Illuminati, people in power and all that stuff. And they say the same phrase, word, or something like that. And it's multiplied like among all these different news outlets. It's crazy. And that's how you know they're getting talking points. That's how you know they're trying to put a message out there. That was done by the Clintons all the time. If you ever look at that sometime. One example that I think of right now is when Bush was president. There was one day when all of them said the word gravitas. Like they said, and it was all on the same day. Every news outlet said pretty much, all the major ones said, George Bush lacks a certain gravitas, or his gravitas is not like his father, or they use the same word on the same day. Who uses gravitas? I mean, who? Nobody, and most people don't even know what it means. I mean, and so 20-some news outlets are going to use that in the same exact day, and it's just chance? I think not. Okay, look at this. They're using triumphal, and I didn't show you a bunch of examples because it's just I don't have the time. I was doing this when I was on my break at work. This part, I mean, literally, I got home just a couple hours ago, and here I'm doing this, and I'm trying to jam this out to you guys because I care about you, and I wanted you to know this stuff that I know. Okay, so look at this, triumphal. If you do a Google search on triumphal arch or triumphal, it goes to the arch. Okay, it's crazy. And then look at Wikipedia, triumphal arch and what it means. I'm gonna let you read this stuff, but it's basically what it basically says in mythology and stuff is, again, and also in Baal worship, because guess what? The Syrians were into Baal, and it's in the Bible, all over the Bible. It's a Baal worship, worshiping Baal. So let me go into here, the next thing here. If you look up triumphal, which was done on all these different news outlets and stuff, and it represents this arch of Baal, the triumph. So here's Trump saying his speech, and all these news outlets are saying triumphal, 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 triumphal. Well, they're trying to say something. The triumphal is trying to say something. Anyway, and what they're saying is triumphal means something. And so you look it up in gematria. And in English gematria, triumphal is 888. So again, this is what I've shown in some of the other videos, or my brother Daniel shown in Logic Before Authority, his videos of gematria. It's the way they speak. They speak in code with rituals and all kinds of stuff. So this big ritual is happening, or just happened yesterday. They put this arch on the top of Baphomet's head in Washington, D.C., on the pentagram. And then he's saying this big speech, and he's boasting, he's saying, oh, America's the best and everything and all this stuff. He's very arrogant. I don't like any side, because they're all in this together, against the good, against the Lord, against good people, against good people, good Christians. So, but a lot of Christians believe that he's a Messiah, and they're going to be sadly disappointed. They're going to find out very quickly he's not. When you put your faith in a man that's other than the man, Jesus Christ, you're going to be disappointed, guaranteed. Okay? Donald Trump is not part of the good guy club. He's part of the bad guy club. And just so happens to be triumphal arch is 888, which is Donald Trump. So that's what the media was pointing at. They're saying, through ritualistic speak and stuff, they're saying, oh, Donald Trump's saying this, oh, it's so triumphal. And they're pointing to the triumphal arch, which is basically the door to hell. And it's going to be opened very soon through these events. So 9/26 was when this one was put in Washington. By the way, there's one in New York. There's all these different cities in America where they've been erected. And it's just showing how the enemy, how evil is multiplying. And the enemy's putting all his little portals, all over the little representative portals. For all I know, spiritually, they could be real portals. When this all turns, maybe demons will come through all of them. I don't know. It's crazy. If anything, it's a spiritual representation, and stuff is going to happen. Super spiritual crud is going to happen, okay, because of this. And they're basically breaking down all God's laws and all goodness by putting these markers everywhere and saying this is the domain of the devil, okay? Whatever you believe, I'm sorry, but it's super significant. And these rituals are building and building and building. That's what many fish has been saying. That's what I've been saying. That's what other people have been saying. They're building to an event that's almost here. Okay, so I got to talk a little bit about CERN. I'm going a little bit of a tangent here because CERN, man, there's so much things I could show you with CERN, but I'm just going to cut it to a small thing. So CERN is all about portals. If you don't know about CERN, some of you do. In fact, look at their logo, CERN. Do you see a 666 in there? Yeah, it's right there, 666. So is it? It's in the Chrome logo. You see, it looks like a computer eye looking at you, and it says 666. It's all over the place. These people are all sold out to the enemy. So right here on the grounds of CERN is this Shiva statue right here. And Shiva is the god of destruction. And they believe Shiva will destroy the earth, and then they'll have order out of chaos. They believe in order out of chaos. They want to cause chaos, and they want to have their own order with the Antichrist as the head, as Antichrist being the Savior and the Messiah and all that kind of stuff. Another false Jesus. Okay, so CERN is all about portals. So let me talk about this a little bit. So this is the Large Hadron Collider. If you don't know about this, this is under the ground. This is massively huge. It's 17 miles in circumference. Basically, it's 300 feet under the ground. It's super cool to the temperature. These tubing here, these colliders are super cooled to the temperature of space. So right in here, you can't walk in here unless it's all shut down. but right here, super cool to the temperature of space. Okay, and they collide protons and they collide different things, and they say that they're trying to look at these small particles, and they want to see how things started, how the Big Bang started, and all that kind of stuff. But that's just a cover story. If you've ever heard of any of my stuff talking about a cover story, that's a cover story. What are they really trying to do? Well, first I'm going to show you this. This is in France. This is on the Swiss-French border. It's right in here. And this cover goes across the Swiss and French border here. It's underneath the ground. That's how big it is. It's 300 feet underneath the ground. This is how big it is if you were to see it on top. But it's underneath the ground, 300 feet. Okay, that's the Large Hadron Collider. And it's the largest machine ever made by man that we know of. I'm pretty safe to say that pretty much ever, probably. So, and I mean, we're talking about 80-some countries involved in it, and multi-billions and billions and billions of dollars, and they're all getting along doing this project, but then they're all warring outside, above ground. It's crazy. So this is really designed to be. They're making this to be a portal. They're going to have this thing on full blast very soon, with I forget how many tera electron volts it's going to have, and it's going to be able to basically rip a hole in space-time fabric. And I'm going to show you they've already done it. And I'm going to show you they've already done it several times, actually. Okay, this is what Sergio Bertolucci, the director of research and scientific computing at CERN, has said. The Large Hadron Collider could open a doorway to an extra dimension, and out of this door might come something, or we might send something through it. And so for a while they had this cover story of, oh, we're just looking for the God particle, we're looking for how the Big Bang started and all that kind of stuff, we're colliding all these particles and all that kind of stuff. But then in the last couple of years they've been saying directly, oh, the portal, yeah, and they've been showing these videos like symmetry and all this kind of stuff that they make, and they're hinting, and more and more, they're hinting less and less, they're saying more about their opening portals, and portals are in everything. Look at movies and TV and even kids' cartoons, the portals are everywhere. And they have to do this. They're getting everybody ready with predictive programming for a portals to open in. Again, the Arch of Baal, the portals to open up, and the demons to come through that are in the abyss. Okay, so I Googled this a while back, and this was data of the spiral anomaly over Norway. Now, if you've never seen this, or maybe you have, there was a big spiral that happened over the mountains of Norway. Okay, and it's called it actually has a name. It's the Norwegian Spiral Anomaly of 2009. It appeared in the night sky over Norway on 9th of December 2009. It was visible from and photographed from northern Norway and Sweden. So thousands of people saw this. There was news reports on this, video, all kinds of stuff. But what they didn't show most people, they showed it the spiral, but they didn't show the actual, when the spiral went down and then it opened up into a wormhole. They didn't show this. So this is documented much. You can look up video, you can look up, you go to YouTube, go to Google, whatever, Norwegian spiral anomaly, whatever, spiral over Norway, whatever, and you'll see video of this. So I'm going to show you a video right now of the little bit of video that's out there from the average person that shows what this actually was. It's a wormhole that they opened up in 2009. Okay, so here it is. So this is what a lot of people saw. Thousands of people in Norway and in Sweden saw from where they were. And the news reports at the time said, oh, it was a Russian rocket that went out of control. Yeah, right, in a perfect spiral in a double helix form, like the same form as a strand of DNA, or two strands of DNA. I mean, seriously, give me a break. And this is a perfect spiral. And that's what a lot of people said, was shown on TV. It was shown on news reports all over the world, actually, at that time. And they were like, oh, this is a crazy phenomenon. What was this? I know exactly what it was. And I did some research, and I found exactly what it was. And then I found this video, which was very clear. And this guy, just some amateur guy, in fact, he didn't even say who he was or anything. This is very short, but it shows you what it really is. This is crazy. Watch this. This is by CERN, by the way, and I have evidence that CERN made this. Watch it open. See, there's the wormhole. And then he's going to refocus this, and you're going to see it over the town. How about that? Isn't that shocking? When I saw this, I was like, oh my goodness. Okay, this is real footage. Okay, this is what thousands of people saw. But a lot of people had eyewitness accounts where they saw this thing open into wormhole, but that was never shown. It was only shown that spiral thing. Okay, and then nobody now look it up, and you won't see hardly anything about the wormhole that actually opened up, but it did. There will be a few videos of that, but this one I like the most because I like how he pans out again, and you see this town underneath it, and it's absolutely real. Okay, again, there's thousands and thousands of witnesses, and I'm going to show you. It's documented. Let me show you here. Again, I just showed you on Google this Norwegian spiral anomaly. Now let me show you the evidence that CERN did this. Okay, so I'm going to go back to this and show you this. Remember, I showed you it was the 9th of December 2009 was the Norwegian spiral anomaly, right? Now, Science Daily, world record energy collisions achieved at Large Hadron Collider, December 9th, 2009. Okay, it's opening a portal. Sergio Bertolucci said, the director of CERN said they're going to open up something and something is going to come through, perhaps, or whatever. Give me a break. And then here's my good buddy, the Antichrist Obama that I've talked about several times. Okay, Obama just so happened to, the next night, he was there that night in Norway where this happened. That night. The next night, he received the Nobel Peace Prize in Oslo, Norway, which is where this was. And guess what? Him being the false Messiah, him becoming the Antichrist, you have to have false signs with the false Messiah. This was a false sign in the same area he was when he was the man of peace. By the way, the Bible says the Antichrist will be a man of peace, but then he won't be. He'll come across as a man of peace. What's more a man of peace than getting the Nobel Peace Prize? By the way, the Nobel group, they basically wanted to take it back after a few years because he basically continued the wars that were already going on, and he created new wars. And the Nobel group, or whatever they're called, I'm not sure what they're called, but the Nobel Committee or whatever, they wanted to take it back. Okay? So Obama accepted the prize in Oslo on December 10th, the next day, 2009, in the same place as that spiral anomaly. In a 36-minute speech, he discussed the tensions between war and peace, an idea of just war, saying, perhaps the most profound issue surrounding my receipt of this prize is the fact that I'm the commander-in-chief of the military of a nation in the midst of two wars. Yeah, you think? And like I said, he continued those wars for whatever reasons he said, which is not the reason, but because he wanted to continue them, and he did more. He went in Libya. All this stuff. It's crazy. This guy is not who most people think he is. Okay, now I want to go to this. This is why I'm mentioning this Arch of Baal and all this stuff and CERN in the first place. So this is in the same town as CERN. It's Geneva, Switzerland. Remember I showed CERN was Switzerland, border Switzerland and France. Okay, so this is just down the road a piece. So look at this. Remember this? I've showed this in another video, if you've seen my other video. This is the WMO, the World Meteorological Organization. Okay, and I showed this building before, but look at this building. Doesn't it look like a boat? It looks a lot like a boat. In fact, they're really into, and same with Noah, as I showed Noah's logo in my last video. Noah's logo is called Noah, as in Noah's Ark. And there's a bird flying on the logo, which is in the bird at Noah's Ark that came back. There's several birds that came, whatever. And they're into a flood. My point is Noah's into a flood because the logo. And then the World Meteorological Organization is into a flood because they have Noah's Ark as their building. By the way, this building is exactly 50 cubits wide, which is how wide. By the way, they're Egyptian cubits. And I've talked about this in my other video, but it's 50 cubits wide. It's Egyptian cubits. It's exactly 50 cubits wide. It's Egyptian cubits because Moses was schooled in Egyptian measurements, not in Hebrew measurements. So it's 50 cubits wide. And then it's close to the length, but it's exactly 50 cubits wide. It looks like an arc. And if you look at it from the bottom, from the street, and you should go to Google Earth, put in the WMO building, WMO in Geneva, Switzerland, and you will see it from the ground. It looks from the top like there's timbers on top, and it looks like a big, huge Noah's Ark. It's crazy. So what I'm trying to say about this is look, it looks like Noah's Ark. There's the shape, and that's they found in the 60s. And then I have a video on my last video that I talked about this, about all the discovery of the real Noah's Ark and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not getting to that right now. But it looks just like that. Okay. But my point in this is I just happened to do this at the time because I'm going, wait a minute, and I was looking at the WMO, and then I found out that they actually name all the hurricanes, which all the ones in Hawaii that hit Hawaii had the same gematria as Barack Obama. What? That's crazy. And so I went to the WMO. I'm like, where are they at? They're in Geneva, Switzerland. I'm like, wait a minute. CERN, who I know, and I know what they're opening portals and doing all that kind of stuff, and they're going to open the portal to hell, which is in Revelation 9, where these locusts are going to come out and Apollyon's going to come out. And by the way, in this same area where the Large Hadron Collider is the temple of Apollo, which is Apollyon or Apollo, and then NASA, which is involved in all this, had missions called Apollo missions, which is about Apollyon coming out of the ground. I mean, give me a break. So anyway, I decided to go from the east corner of CERN headquarters, their land there, and just take it, measure on Google Earth, measure across to the very tip of Noah's Ark. No, the WMO's building that looks like Noah's Ark, and it's exactly 7 kilometers. I mean, the chance of it's not 7.2 or 8, 7, or I mean, who knows? It's exactly 7. 7 is a huge number. It's a huge God number. It's a huge Illuminati number, and 8s are and all that kind of stuff. So here's my point. I'm bringing all this all the way around here. So if you have 9/26 is when this Archibald went in Washington on the top of Baphomet's Head in Washington, D.C., you add 7 days, you get 10/3. Okay? That's the day we're talking about, of the destruction of these tsunamis and all this. Okay? Oh. Then what's happening here? You add 7 kilometers to the portal, which is just like this. CERN is the portal. CERN is the portal maker. This is the Archibald, which is the portal to hell, right? You add 7 kilometers to CERN and you get a flood. You add 7 days to this Archibald in Washington and you get floods all over in Hawaii and New York. And I'm saying even possibly London and Tokyo, because that's an iPad goat as well, I believe. And there's hurricanes that are going to them and have been to them where there could be subs in the water right now, which I believe there are, and they're going to hit them with tidal waves as well. And that's why you're going to have worldwide flooding. By the way, when I showed those movies of these tidal waves on a couple of my videos ago, or this last video, it showed hitting London, and it also showed hitting Tokyo. Pretty crazy. Okay, so I'm going to end with this. One second here. Okay, so this is crazy. This is a story that I found when I was looking at tidal. I was looking at the possibility of Helena slump and the East Rift Zone of Hawaii falling into the ocean, and I saw this little animated video and this other video, and then in this is a report from Russian television, RT, and they were talking about hundreds of quakes in Hawaii in 24 hours, volcanic eruption possible. And so basically these eruptions are precursors to what's going to happen here pretty soon here. Like I said, I believe it's going to be at that time. And I'm going to go back to that at the very end here. But you see this 223? So we're talking about 22 going into 23. Now we're talking about the Julian calendar, for example, because 9/23 is a big date in iPad Goat. So we're going from 22 to 23. And then they show this when they're talking about this. Okay, I'm going to tell you about why this is substantial. First of all, when you're going from Julian calendar 22 to 23 of September, the time between 22 and 23 is 12 midnight. Going into 23 is that day that all these 3 days are, you got the 7/23, the 8/23, and the 9/23 I just showed you. And so this is a key number, 223, means the 22 into 23. You put those together. And I believe that's possibly the twinkling of an eye. that time in between these 2 days, split second or whatever. Maybe it's just, I mean, I saw it on that barrel. I can go back to that, but that barrel is 12:01, 12, maybe 12, and then 0.01 seconds. I mean, I don't know. Okay, whatever it is, this is crazy. And let me add more to this craziness. This My wife was this was, and I told a story about this in another video, but this was probably, I think, a few days before Hector hit Hawaii, and that was on 8. I'll never forget. It was on 8/8/18, right? And they're into these eights. Remember, I just showed you Donald Trump is 888, and then Triumphal Arch is 888, and I mean all these different stuff. It's just it's insane. Okay, so she was at a intersection, and God speaks to her in different ways, through dreams, through some different things. And in this situation, she said she was in this intersection, and all of a sudden she saw one car that passed, and his license plate, she just happened to look at the license plate and it said 221. And then the next car passed in a different direction, and this license plate said 222. And then another car went through the intersection and passed her going a different direction, and that said 223. She was like, what? 221, 222, and 223? That's weird. And then she was telling me this, and then I'm like, okay, I don't know what that means. And that was a couple of days before this happened, before Hector just touched Hawaii, didn't do anything, of course. And then so that night, on 8/8/18, so she told me this a couple days before that. And then on that night, it didn't happen. I was like, okay, what's going to happen? Is this going to happen or not? And I'm glad people didn't get hurt or whatever, but I'm just like, is this going to happen? I don't know. And so I ended up talking to a friend of mine, Earth to Spirit Warrior. He does videos as well. We were talking quite a bit at that time. And then I said, I'm wondering what's going on. And he goes, you know what? I'm thinking, today is 8/8, but I'm thinking there's something big. I think the Lord's telling me there's something big on 21, 22, or 23. And I was like, what? 21, 20? That sounded familiar. 21, 22, and 23. I'm like, what? Okay, and then the next morning, I'm like, that's kind of crazy. So the next morning, me and my wife are praying, and we're like, okay, what's going on? Is this happening? Is this not happening? I don't know. And then I told her, after we prayed, I told her about what Earth to Spirit Warrior said to me the night before, on the 8th. And this was the morning of the 8/9, August 9th. And she said, oh, that's weird. Remember I told you a couple days ago? I saw those license plates at the same, one right after the other, at the same intersection. 221, 222, and 223. I'm like, what? Yeah. And I mean, I didn't put two and two together. I didn't know what that meant. And then I was saying, oh, he just said 221, 22, or he said 21, 22, and 23. And you're 221 and 222 and 223. I'm like, that can't be. What? That's weird. Okay, and so then for the next 3 days, the 9th, so August 9th, August 10th, and August 11th, the 3 days after that, we were praying and different stuff, and we asked Lord, what's going on, and we weren't doing much. And we're just like, okay, I'm trying to figure out what's going on and what you're doing. Is there more coming or whatever? And there was another hurricane possibly coming. And then I end up on the third day. So it's August 9th, 10th, and 11th. So August 11th was the third day that we were praying. And I end up looking, we were praying, and I felt like I needed to go to what day of the year it is, or what day in the year it is. So, and I ended up looking at that, and you could have knocked me over. I was so shocked. That day that we were praying the first time, when I told her what Earth and Spirit Warrior said, and she told me about her license plates that she saw, that day was the 221st day of the year. The next day, the second day of the 3 days we were praying, was the 222nd day of the year. Look it up. And then August 11th, the third day we were praying that I found this, was the 223rd day of the year. And I'm like, what? And I shared a little bit of this in one of my last videos. Well, it's been several videos ago now. And then just after that, I'm looking at some stuff of this footage, and then here it is, 223 on a license plate about Hawaii. And we've been praying about Hawaii. We're praying about these hurricanes. And look at Hawaii right there. Look at that rainbow. The rainbow has to do with God's promise not to flood the earth. Are you kidding me? Are you serious? I'll throw them all together. Are you kidding me? Are you serious? I mean, that is what? And then now, let me go to it right now. I'll finish with this. Okay, and now we have this. So that 223 that was on the license plate that my wife saw, that Earth Spirit Warrior confirmed, that all this thing happened, that it was the days of the year 221, 222, 223, is these that are happening between the 22nd and the 23rd exactly of the Julian calendar, and between the 22nd and the 23rd of the Hebrew calendar, and the 22nd and the 23rd, in a sense, of the Chinese lunar calendar. That is crazy. That is crazy. Another confirmation of this time frame. Okay, and like I said, I believe it's the twinkling of an eye. And I want to go back to this also. One thing I missed here, my wife just mentioned, is right here. Remember that J I said, or the Yud? That's also right here. So I said there was a 9, 23, there's a 7, 20, 23, and there's also a 10. This is 1 and 0, 1 and 0, 23. And this is also the shape of a J, which is 10, 10, 3. Just the J right here, 10, 3. Or 10, 3, or 9, 23, or 7, 20. I mean, are you kidding me? It's all in there. And then let me go to this last bit. I'm done. Right here, it goes back to this. That 223 is 22 and 23. What's in between that? 12 midnight, maybe even 01 going into the 23rd is right in between. That is the hour. Something's going to happen then, or that day is going to happen with these attacks. So this is my hypothesis. I hope you understand what I'm saying. I hope you get it. I hope you see it. And we'll see what happens. So I'm doing my best to give you the information that I know so you're prepared. And I'm going to say one last thing before I leave. This has been a long video. I apologize. But I had to get a lot of information out. And there's more I could put in here. I just don't have the time. I literally don't have the time. I would either spend another day or two doing it and not get it out. But, there's not enough notice for people. So if you know anybody, please, I beg you, if you know anybody on the West Coast or the East Coast, tell them to get out of there. Even better than that, tell them to go to the Lord right now. And if you know anybody in Hawaii, and any of my subscribers that you're in Hawaii, you know who you are. I've talked to you. Get out of there. Get out. Take a vacation if you have to. Just, and if nothing happens, then come back. But there's too much evidence. And then look at more evidence yourself. Search this out. Look at other possibilities. Ask the Lord. Pray. Please, I beg you. This is why I'm doing all this. I'm doing this for you, all of you. Please, come to the Lord Jesus Christ before it's too late. I'm telling you. And also leave. Also, let any family members know to get out of there. I mean, I don't think eventually any place will be safe in the world or even in the United States. But right now, get out of there. I'm telling you. Or show this to people. Let them decide for themselves. Please, I'm begging you. This is for people's lives, their safety, and hopefully for their salvation eventually. Or now. Right now. So that's all I want to say. God bless you. God bless this information. And my battery's almost done. So thank you so much for watching. And I wish the best for all of you. I really, truly do. This is the Exalted Lamb 1, over and out.